Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to the Valentine's Views podcast here on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Day one of New York Giants training camp is in the books. It was a day that started with news that Giants fans had hoped for, waited for, with Evan Neal on the physically unable to perform list. Head coach Brian Daboll said on Wednesday morning that Jermaine Eluemunor would move from left guard to right tackle, position he played successfully for the Las Vegas Raiders the last 2 years. Something that's always been a possibility and something Giants fans had frankly been hoping for. Unfortunately, the day ended with Eluemunor sidelined after going down, after apparently being hit by Dexter Lawrence, possibly with a left arm or rib injury. Not sure of the severity. Looked like Eluemunor was holding his rib cage or holding his left arm close to his side as he left the field on Wednesday. And that, of course, leaves the Giants in a situation where, after giving up 85 sacks last year, after signing 2 starting offensive linemen in free agency, potentially a third if former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Aaron Stinney wins the left guard job, leaves the Giants in flux after one day of training camp, after an entire offseason focused on trying to help this offensive line. Joe Schoen signed John Runyon and Jermaine Eluemunor as starters, signed Aaron Stinney as a potential starter. He signed tackle Matt Nelson for potential depth. He signed Austin Schlottman as a potential backup center. So after so much focus and so much time and so much discussion, and knowing that the offensive line had to be such a priority, and knowing that the shuffling couldn't continue the way that the Giants shuffled their offensive line all last spring, all training camp in 2023, and with all of the iterations of the line that they went through and the horrible play that they got most of the season from that line, the Giants knew that they had to settle this line. They knew that they needed to put resources into that to play better. One of the reasons Saquon Barkley is in Philadelphia is because of the need to upgrade this offensive line. And yet here we are, one day into training camp. We have no idea who the right tackle is. We have no idea who the left guard is. With Neal sidelined, with Eluemunor sidelined, the Giants used third-year man Josh Ezeudu as the first-team right tackle. Ezeudu, of course, drafted primarily as a guard, played left tackle last year, did not do well in that role in place of Andrew Thomas after Thomas got hurt. The Giants in the spring, with new offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo, seemed to insist that they thought Ezeudu could be a swing tackle. Started on Wednesday playing some left tackle with the second and third groups, ended the day playing right tackle in place of Eluemunor. So right now that line is a mess. The Giants are still insisting that Neal will have a chance to win the job when he returns. Joe Schoen said that he thinks that Neal, who had off-season ankle surgery, who barely participated in spring workouts, as there has been some word that his rehab, for whatever reason, didn't go according to plan. Schoen has said that he thinks Neal is close to returning. But is he going to have a job? Is he going to have to compete for that right tackle job? If Eluemunor is out for an extended period of time, which we don't know, there's no word on the extent of his injury. We'll ask Brian Daboll about that when we're at practice again on Thursday morning. But if and when Neal comes back, can the Giants give him that right tackle job? If Eluemunor is healthy, what will happen with Neal? Brian Daboll insisted on Wednesday that they would revisit that, make that decision when the time came. It's possible that Jermaine Eluemunor's injury makes that decision for them. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed that Eluemunor's injury is a matter of days, not weeks or months, and that it doesn't require recalibrating, reconfiguring this offensive line. If you've been watching Hard Knocks, you know that Eluemunor was the offensive lineman that the Giants pro personnel department wanted above the rest of these guys, above the rest of the available free agents. I think that's because of Eluemunor's flexibility. Can play guard, can play both tackles, could be a starting guard for the Giants, could be the right tackle, could perhaps be emergency depth if something happens to Andrew Thomas. But right now, we don't know when we're going to see Eluemunor on the field again. After listening to Brian Daboll on Wednesday morning, after listening to Joe Shane, I know that they didn't want to say it, but my opinion had always been that if and when they moved Jermaine Eluemunor to right tackle, that was the end of Evan Neal as the long-term starting right tackle for the Giants, that was the end of Evan Neal as an every week starter. And I didn't know what was going to happen to Neal. Would he become a swing tackle? Would they move him to guard? Would they try all of those things? Would they try to trade him? I don't know. But, now everything seems to be in flux. We don't know when Eluemunor will practice. We don't know when Neal, who was still visibly limping when we saw him leave the field at the end of practice on Wednesday. We don't know when either of those guys is going to return. We don't know if they see Jermaine Eluemunor as a real, or not Jermaine Eluemunor, Josh Ezeudu as a real option at right tackle, or if he was just the guy that they have, at the time. Matt Nelson, former Detroit Lion, has played that position. Some started games in the league at that position. After missing a lot of the spring, Nelson was working some at left tackle with the second and third units on Wednesday. We'll see if he gets some right tackle reps here going forward. And we'll see if the Giants make any roster moves. The Giants had guard Greg Van Roten in the facility on Monday. Van Roten, of course, played for Carmen Brasillo, Giants offensive line coach in Las Vegas. Had the best year of his career last year. Van Roten still is 34 years old, still a free agent. Not a guy that's going to require a big money contract. If he was, he'd have one with a team by now. Van Roten, obviously a guy Brasillo trusts, a guy who knows the way Brasillo teaches, what Brasillo wants from his offensive line. Had his best year playing for Brasillo. Would make a lot of sense for the Giants as an interior signing to probably compete, maybe to replace Aaron Stinney. Maybe they would give Van Roten a left guard job as soon as he walked in the door. But at the very least, he would probably compete for that job and perhaps be center depth. He's played center in the past as well. Don't know what the Giants would do if they think Eluemunor is going to be out for long term. It's entirely possible that they could reunite with Tyree Phillips, who's filled in adequately for Evan Neal the last 2 seasons. Phillips is still a free agent, still unsigned, but he's coming back from late season surgery to repair a torn quad. I think that was the second to last week of the 2023 season. That is a very difficult injury to come back from the research that I've done on that injury. If it doesn't heal properly, it can impact your mobility. So I don't know Tyree Phillips' status. We've heard that his rehab is going well, but nobody knows for sure, what kind of player he can still be. If he's healthy, if he works out, if he looks like he's moving well at some point, perhaps a Tyree Phillips reunion could be in the offing. excuse me. But I really don't know what the Giants will do at that right tackle position, going forward if Jermaine Eluemunor is out for an extended period of time. So cross your fingers, hope that it's a short-term injury, hope that it's a bruise, hope that it's a muscle pull, hope that it's not, broken ribs that are going to cost him, the rest of training camp, maybe longer than that, because the Giants, they need some injury luck for a change. They need a cohesive offensive line. They need to put this together. They need to start the 2024 season quickly. They can't go 1-5 to start the season again. They have Minnesota, and they have Washington to start the season. Those are games that the Giants really need to win. They're games that they could win. They're favored against the Vikings. And having the offensive line be in flux already, doesn't bode well for any of that. But we'll cross our fingers. We'll hope that Eluemunor is healthy enough to come back quickly. And for that matter, we'll hope that Evan Neal is, as Joe Shane says, not far away, can get on the field and can perhaps show the Giants that he might be able to give them something. He might be able to at least be an option for them at right tackle, maybe inside at guard, but not a good day, not a good start for the Giants offensive line, not what they wanted to have happen, to have one of their prized free agent signings go down on the field with an injury on the first day of training camp. On the flip side of that, it was a better day for Daniel Jones. Now, listen, we don't know what's going to happen with Jones. We don't know what his long-term future is. We know that the Giants tried to trade up in the draft. We know they were interested in Jaden Daniels. We know they would have traded up for Daniels had he been available, or tried to trade up for Daniels. We know that they made an effort to trade up in the draft to get Drake May, that the New England Patriots rebuffed all of that. If you've been watching Hard Knocks, you're familiar with how all of that went down. But Daniel Jones is the quarterback for now. He'll be the quarterback in 2024, provided he doesn't get hurt, provided the season doesn't go sideways right away. And maybe at some point, if the season's not going very well, the Giants bench Jones simply so that they don't have to deal with the potential of having to pay an injury guarantee next year, since this is the last year of his contract. But for now, the Giants need Daniel Jones coming back from his torn ACL. They need him to take as many reps this summer as possible. Brian Daboll said he would take all of the first team reps, provided he could handle them. He did that on Wednesday. Jones was not particularly sharp, off target a little bit. I think he was 8 for 13 on the afternoon, but really that's not the point. The point for me was, the good thing for me to see was that Jones got 11 on 11 work for the first time since tearing his ACL. He moved well. He stood in the pocket. Obviously, he's wearing a red jersey. Nobody's going to hit him. These are non-contact practices at this point anyway, but still, you're facing a pass rush. He had to move out of the pocket a few times. He moved pretty well. He said after practice that he had no hesitation in moving around, that he didn't even think about it, that it was just natural to see a rush and get out of there. And all of that is good. All of that is good stuff. All of that, they're sort of benchmarks. They're things that Jones needs to accomplish in team scenarios, in 11 on 11, the most game-like conditions that he can. And as I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Jones. He was asked about the Giants quarterback search, and he said, obviously it's not fun. It's not something he enjoyed. He talked about it with Joe Shane. He said, hearing Joe Shane say that the Giants were investigating the quarterback market, would take one if the circumstance was right. He said, that's not a fun conversation. He said, but he understands the Giants have a job to do. He has a job to do. Nobody knows at this point if Daniel Jones is going to play well enough in 2024 uh, to keep the Giants out of the quarterback market a year from now. Odds are he's probably not going to. But odds were 2 years ago that he wasn't going to play well enough to keep the Giants out of the quarterback market either. And he did. So the best thing for the Giants at this point is for Jones to get on the field, get into games, and let the Giants see where they can go, what he can do with Malik Neighbors, with Wan'Dale Robinson, with Jalen Hyatt, with Darius Slayton, with Theo Johnson, with the revamped running back room, and hopefully, fingers crossed, with a stabilized offensive line, which I know we talked about might have taken a hit already today, but we will see. We'll cross our fingers. We'll hope that that situation works itself out, and that Eluemunor is not injured as badly as it looked like he might have been. So we will see what happens there. But bad news on the offensive line front. I thought it was good news for Daniel Jones that we saw him move around a little bit. Just one more thing I wanted to mention before I wrap it up here, and that is in reference to head coach Brian Daboll. If you guys remember Daboll at the end of last season, it was apparent that Dabes had gained a considerable amount of weight. Brian Daboll has lost a ton of weight entering this season. Brian Daboll is almost unrecognizable. It's he said he didn't lose as much weight as he did the year that he was in Cleveland and lost 112 pounds, but he's lost a lot of weight. He looks great. And I think that bodes well for him. That just bodes well for his health. He looks great. He looks happy. I'm happy for him that he looks better and seems to feel better than he did at the end of last season. So it's noteworthy, that the man has really spent a lot of time in the offseason taking care of himself. So hopefully that will lead to good things for him down the line as well. All right. I will be back at Quest Diagnostics on Thursday and on Friday, and I will continue to bring you as many reports every day or as many days as I possibly can during training camp. So please look forward to those. Please check out all of our training camp coverage at bigblueview.com. We have a full New York Giants training camp section. Click on any of the stories about training camp. Click the Giants training camp headline above those stories. You'll find all of our training camp coverage. Please check us out at Big Blue View on X. Look for me over on Threads if you use that social media platform. Check us out on Instagram as well. So wherever you guys look for Giants related information. Facebook as well. You can find Giants information or Big Blue View there to give you Giants information. So as always, Giants fans, thank you for listening. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.